Welcome to Blackboard Tips and Tricks with Professor Ron. Today, we're going to take a look at how to use Honorlock inside Blackboard Ultra. Let's dive in. In my case, I'll just go ahead and hit Create, and then I'm going to just hit Test, and then over here, let's do, we want to do Quiz, the Classical Era, and we're going to label that Quiz the Classical Era Honorlock. There we go. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to go here, get my questions, reuse questions. Okay, I'm going to scroll down until I can see this. Looking for it. I mean, I could just put it in the search. Yes, of course. All right, so see my quiz, the classical era. Click that. I want all the questions, select all. Cool, everything looks good. I see my questions, 62 questions. Copy questions. Letting that, propagate here, get ready to go. Okay, so all the questions look looking good. Just do a quick scroll, and I'm going to do a quick down on my Mac here. Okay, I'm going to take off this allow students to add content at end of assessment. Don't need that. Okay, that's grayed out. Quick up, and feel good about the labeling. I'm going to change this up here, and we're going to go change the date. Let's go the 8th. Let's change the time. Put it at the end of the module, 12/8/24, 11 p.m. Going to set prohibit late submissions. Okay, the new attempts already does that by default. No new attempts after due date. Display one question at a time, prohibit backtracking, randomize questions, randomize answers, good to go on all that. Test one attempt. We want to do percentage. Okay, assessment grade post. No essay or short answer on this one, so I'm good with that. If there's any essays, short answers, those kind of things, you want to uncheck that. Grade, do the manual grading. Assessment results. Okay, so I'm going to change allow students to view their submission after individual grade is posted. That's personal preference, whatever you like to do. You got a lot of options here. It's cool. Let's see. I'll do after submission on the if there's any automated feedback. Question scores we'll do after individual grade is posted. Show correct answers after all grades are posted. Okay, and I'm good with that. Individual, yep. After individual, oh yeah, we'll save that. Okay, and we're gonna add, let's add a time limit to this one. We'll go 75 minutes. Okay, and then in my description, okay, I just had it saved in the copy and paste. Quiz, classical era, Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. Yeah, good with that. And a quick scroll up, double checking everything. 12/8/24, 11 p.m. Looking good. All the presentation options. Yeah, that's all looking great. Test one percentage. Post the grade, individual. All the view options here looking good. Yeah, feeling great about all that. I have not configured the proctor settings. We're gonna do that in a moment. Okay, we're gonna save that. Okay, so far so good. Now, one of the other things I could just do the quick scroll down. So I want to configure this to be able to actually use for Honorlock now. I keep mouse scrolling up, but I need to use those shortcuts. I think just a habit there. So I'm going to get out of there. Okay, so let's go over to the Gradebook and let's check a few things. All right, I'm going to scroll down here. And I want to find, I got Quiz, the Classical Era. I don't need that one anymore. It's the old one. I've got my Classical Quiz Honorlock. I did not make it visible or available yet. You can do that here, or of course I could have done that when I created it in terms of setting the visibility. I'll go ahead and bring that Classical Quiz up. That'll be underneath the Baroque era quiz there. All right. I'm going to come over to Quiz, the Classical Era here. I'm going to take this one off the board. Okay. All right. Now, I need to make it visible. And while there are a few ways to do it, I'm going to come over here and take care of that. If it's a live class, it would show students' names. We don't want to do that for recording any kind of tutorial help videos. So this takes me back to my basically creation land or creation point there. Okay, so now I just make it visible. And we're good to go on that. Okay, quiz, classical era, Honorlock, good to go, visible to students. I want to get out of there. Okay, and it takes me back to just the gradable items page. Yay! So far, so good, right? Quick scroll down there. So then just check in elements of music, Elvis, Beatles, Baroque era. I see all Honorlock for each one for elements, Elvis, Beatles, Baroque, classical. I see midterm Honorlock. I see final exam Honorlock. I need to move that. I want to move that up a little bit. Just for my preference, so I can see that placement. I want to move. No, let's leave that there. If I can drag the right one there, I want that to come down. And I've got a practice quiz for students, so they can just get the lay of the land. If there's any issues or trouble, can get that out of the way on a, low stakes. Just give it a whirl there. All right, so got the overall grade, Honorlock practice quiz, how-to videos. That's looking good. All the lectures. Do a quick scroll down there back to the quizzes. Great. Elements Honorlock, Elvis Honorlock, Beatles Honorlock, if I can talk today. The Baroque era Honorlock, the Classical era Honorlock, midterm exam Honorlock, final exam Honorlock, and then my video or concert paper. Just done by kind of the assignment flow. All right. So all that's looking great. Now we are going to go back to content. Let's go to the Start Here module. I'm going to click the disclosure triangle. I'm going to go down to where we see Technical Support, Blackboard, Help Support, and Apps. I'm going to click that. Okay, we're going to scroll down here. What I've done in the course is I've made a little section for Honorlock. So Honorlock is the new application for all South Texas College online proctored exams. Honorlock is a browser extension that can be installed on Google Chrome. Yay! All right. Well, I'm not going to read all that verbatim, but just kind of get us going there. The important thing here is to get the Honorlock extension for Chrome. And there are a couple ways to do this. This is one way it can be done. But even if a student were to click the exam, it'll give them an error message and allow them to get the extension right there, even if they don't come over here and do it, if it's in your course, or they're using distance learning training or other access training materials, whatever they're looking at. So I click this Honorlock extension. Okay, add extension. Click below to add the Honorlock Chrome extension. I agree. Add the extension. Okay, and I'm going to add to Chrome. Add Honorlock. Yes, I'm going to add the extension. And it's working its magic. A lot of magic there. Okay, coolness. Okay, now I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take that. Going to come back over here. We're going to head over to Books and Tools, and we want to click on View Course and Institution Tools. All right, so we're checking the available tools. You may not see it here. All good, no worries. We're going to come on down to Browse All Course Tools. Okay, we're going to scroll through the content market, and we are looking for Honorlock Exam List. Here we go. Now I've added it in to this developmental shell, and I'm going to bring it up. Okay, and I'm going to add it in here. And as you're going to see, oh wait, it's already there. Well, it's because I've already set this up, but I wanted to show you before I jump into what I've already set up, how to actually put it in there. Okay, so that's how you would do it, and I'll go through how to access it from the professor view as well as what students will see in student preview mode. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one. No worry, he's going to delete that, but I have it already there. Okay, delete LTI placement link. And we're going to work with what I made. Okay, now first things first, I'm going to close that, double check the screen, and I want to show you what the students will see if you have that visible anywhere in your course. What I'm talking about is if you're showing this. Let's see. So we're going to go, let's launch Student Preview. I'm going to start preview now. It takes a little second. Thanks for waiting here. Now we're going to click on Start Here, scroll down, and for here, we click Show Exam List. Okay, a couple things. This is not the only thing that's actually in the class. What you see here is Honorlock Practice Quiz. Now, the reason you don't see all of my quizzes and or assessments, I have quizzes and I have a midterm and a final exam, but they're not all visible here because of conditions. So if you use conditions that are grade-based or date-based, conditional release, it's not going to show up here for whatever reason, whether that's a glitch or something that might be forthcoming in terms of a change, edit, revision, update, we'll see. So the only things that'll show up here is if it's not conditional. However, I guess my hope, probably, I'm still new to this, is that once it's actually released and it's current, that you would hopefully see it in this particular list. So kind of a nice list if you could actually see them all. But there does seem to be something going on, which I've actually tested, where I've actually changed dates and releases and taken them all off. So even if you create something where you have some kind of conditional release and then you remove it, it still won't actually add it on here. If it was from ground zero, you'd probably work here. But once you've done a release and you were to remove it, you can't get it on this list. So, but hopefully once it actually is released, it would propagate here. At any rate, the quizzes that are current and have no conditions are going to be right here. More on that later, but just so no one gets worried about how come I'm not seeing my stuff, or if you do show it to students, just know anything that's conditional won't show up here. But hopefully it will once it actually is released. Well, more to come on that. Now also, whether this is a developmental shell glitch or something maybe I'm missing or some kind of setting, it doesn't appear that it can be launched from here. But I'll keep exploring and tinkering with that. So the students would see this if you did show it. Let me exit out of here. And we'll come back to another student preview in just a moment. Let's take a look at the settings in Honorlock for quizzes and exams. I'm going to go to the Start Here module. And let's go over to Honorlock Exam List. It's going to get the LTI connection going there. We're going to go over to Honorlock Enabled Assessments. And let's go ahead and take a look at all these settings from, how about midterm exam Honorlock? Okay. So you see I have email notifications set up for the midterm exam. I do this for the midterm and the final. Send email notifications when recommended sessions are available for this assessment. Okay, we scroll down a little bit. Proctor settings. I have record webcam. This is going to record the test taker's testing environment using a webcam. I'm using record screen, record test taker screen during the session. Record web traffic, so it's going to log the test taker's internet activity. So if they try to open, well, they actually could. If they open up a Google tab or multiple Google tabs and they start typing things in Google and then they press enter, it's going to log all of that and show you those URLs that they tried to attempt, these snapshots, but you can click on them and look at what they were trying to find. Now, I'm using the test taker photo, so you just basically smile in the circle and take the photo. I'm not using test taker ID. This works well with in my testing with say like government issued IDs. If you use any other ID aside from that, just have to make sure if you do require that it's very clean and clear ID with the image on there that will come through, because you might get a ID failure. Let's see. I should jump over to Browser Guard as I was talking about record web traffic. So the thing about Browser Guard, if you just use Browser Guard by itself, it's just going to block students from actually they can open the Google tab and they can try to look something up, but it'll kick them back to the exam. With record web traffic, it's actually logging what they tried to look up. But it will let them open a Google tab, and they can actually type in Squid Game, Yo, Lone Wolf, how do you define melody? And it won't give them answers. It'll show what they tried to Google, and it'll kick them right back to the exam. And also, if they try to open up Microsoft Word, Excel, or any fancy program, whether it be Logic Pro or, I don't know, some kind of game, it'll look like it'll let them get out of the exam and open it, and it'll start to open. Then they'll get an error message or multiple error messages. It might even kick them out of the exam. It can, but they'll get error messages first before that even happens. And then the program's not actually going to continue opening. So it's with the program, it's guarding against apps, programs, and the log, the test taker's internet activity. It works really well. Okay, so with record web traffic, browser guard, if I kind of jump over to allowed site URLs for just a second, I'm not using that, but you could actually add them in here if you wanted to. Okay, so what about that room scan I was about to get to? I've tested it. It works. So you'd have to use your laptop, and they'd have to just basically do a 360 to get the room. Or they can take off if they've got, like I use a Logitech 4K Brio cam on my LG monitor, and you could take it off and you just rotate it around the room. I'm not currently using that, but it's something I'm looking at using for midterm and final exam. I'm still experimenting with that stuff, but it does work pretty well. Manual review, so you get an assessment review of the session recording by a proctor. Calculator stuff is all good. It's on-screen calculators, whether it's basic, scientific, just so you're not getting dinged if, in fact, you are actually bringing those up. So those are great. I use disable copy and paste. Short answer essays that we don't want people just copying everything into text box on an exam. Disable printing as a safeguard measure there. I already talked about the browser guard, record web traffic, and the connection to allowed site URLs. So if you want to do something like simulated, not proctored, low stakes, quizzes, those kind of things, just won't be recorded or flagged, so you could do something like that too. So a lot of options here in terms of proctor settings. And I've tested all these. So want to encourage everyone out there to test as you actually use these, and really before you use them in your college courses. Make sure you test them on your own so you kind of know how it works in terms of what's going to get flagged and what may not get flagged and how that all works. If you require the room scan in Honorlock, let's take a look at the student perspective of how they're going to get that done. All right, on the test taker guidelines, so no open book from me. I am allowing notes. No scratch paper, restroom breaks, sure, all good with that. No hats, no mobile phones, no cell phones. Headphones allowed. I teach music appreciation and American music, so they need them to actually listen to a song by Mozart or Eminem or Beethoven or Elvis or Bob Dylan, because they're going to have an MP3 and they got to press play and tell me what song it is or describe the characteristic or element of the song. So I do allow headphones because there's music on the exams, quizzes too. Handheld calculator. Not applicable to me, but the option it's certainly there. Background noise, I do allow that. It seems to be it's going to be a common thread probably. So public area allowed, something I toggle with in terms of that may be something I explore. Public area allowed here on test taker guidelines, as well as the room scan. I'm looking at those two as options as well, because with public area, libraries, Starbucks, out and about taking the exam, whether it's summer sessions or fall or spring or mini-mesters, there could be those kind of scenarios. So that's something I'm considering making a change here, and I'm looking at this scan as a possibility as well. Okay, so accommodations, as those arise or come up, you can put those accommodations here. It may be necessary for some of the test takers. Assessment visibility, this is important. You want to just leave this alone. It's no, use the dates on the assessment to determine test taker's view. By the default being no right here, it's leaning on or deferring to Blackboard Ultra's assessment quiz exam settings that the teacher that we set up. So we want to leave that alone. I'm going to click a save there. So that's the settings in a nutshell. Let me head back to the class. Next, I'm going to show you a typical student scenario using Honorlock. Here we go. Okay, so here's what the professor sees when you take your quizzes with Honorlock inside Blackboard Ultra or maybe other systems as well. Now, as you can see, we have Music Appreciation, MUSI 1306, Section B04. I'm a preview user, wanted to run through and test everything here. And it's shown under the details guidelines in terms of, open book not allowed, notes allowed, scratch paper not allowed, restroom breaks are allowed, no calculator, headphones cool, hats no, public area no, background noise allowed, mobile phones not allowed. Basically the do's and don'ts there. And if I go over here to question, so we can see, okay, these, one of the questions here, what are the steps to becoming a good listener? Transcript. This is important because if you say anything at all, like if you say something, TVs, movies, radio, music, background, people, conversations, it's going to pick up all that stuff. So just be aware that everything is being picked up and then it's going to be translated here, whatever you say. So as long as you're aware that anything you say or anybody else says or any audio from anywhere, it's picking all the audio up from the microphone. So just keep that in mind. In terms of the transcript, it's all going to pop up here. Now, we see, so I ran a lot of tests here, so I'm trying to scroll down to where we started for this particular test. And I've got my profile picture here. I see it's 7:33. See the screen share has been started, authentication complete. Then I got the screen capture video, and we go to the webcam video here, just all showing the steps. And if I come over here to question 1, it's going to show that transcript. It's going to show the questions. I mean, it's and I can press play, and it's gonna get everything. So like there is talking here. So I'm pretty much talking all the way through the test and the simulation to try to see, okay, well, what's going on there. That's going to pop up here. Now, let's scroll down a little bit. Some of the other things that I tested, of course, was like, well, yeah, they're detecting the speech. I've got high, a high mark, high flag here. Answered, 8 indicators, speech detected, personal assistant keyword. Okay, I got to, obviously this is me testing, so I don't have to worry about that. The concern here is, as I scroll down and look at, I got attempted online research blocked. And if I click that, Facebook, big no-no, not allowed. Okay, so I ran that test. How about this resource blocked? Instagram, that's a no-no, not allowed. Okay, let's get out of there. What else? Oh, I tried to look up the definition. While it's showing that to me now, it completely blocked it. So that everything I'm clicking, it didn't actually let you get here. It's letting me because it's showing, the professor what you tried to access. So we'll actually get to what you tried to access, but you wouldn't even get this far. I would have just blocked it. It blocks it immediately. Now, I've got to look out for test window loss focus. You just got to be careful with the focus of the test window and staying in the screen and all that, and you'll be okay. So now, if you try to open up other apps or programs, it's going to block all that kind of stuff too. So, I also tested trying to open other apps, programs, and everything was just getting blocked. I tried, resizing the screen, minimizing, all that's going to get blocked. So be aware of the transcript. You got your details of, what's allowed, what's not allowed, questions that you're answering. It's going to show them as they, come out in real time. It's going to show everything that you say or anybody else says or any device, anywhere says. It's going to pick all that up. And it's going to show up you try to access anything, any online resources, apps, programs, resources. It's going to show all that kind of stuff. So just want to be careful about that. So that's what the professor sees. Now, this is in student preview mode, so I'm certainly going to see a lot more if you try to put a hat on or use a calculator or anything that's not allowed. If it does get flagged, then at that point in a live class that is not preview mode, you're going to get flagged, and then I'm going to see it, and then that's when a real person that, works, with Honorlock is going to come in and check some stuff out too. With having a, real time, real person assessment, discount, double check on Honorlock. Basically, if you're in a live Honorlock exam assessment quiz, and then you get flagged and it's set up for, real time, human, checking that, then they could actually come in and like start talking to you. So in this case, we're just getting flagged with what's programmed and or AI things in terms of maybe wearing a hat or calculator or whatever. But if a real-time human connection is a part of the assessment, then a real person could end up coming on and, chatting with you and pausing the test to make sure everything is all copacetic. So, yeah, nothing to be scared of for students and or professors kind of checking this out. Just thought it might be helpful to kind of see the screen, what's up with details, the questions, the transcript, and a few of the high things to take a look at in terms of focus and things being blocked and whatnot. But I'm going to set this back down, do another double take here, but that's pretty much it. At least for now, it is going to detect, of course, a whole host of things. So just make sure to follow the rules, and you'll have a great time in the exams. I hope this helps a lot of students and professors out there navigating Honorlock. But this is what your professor sees, and they're going to see a lot more if you break any of the rules. So just be straight up, and you're good. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you had a great time and learned a lot. I'm Professor Ron with Blackboard Tips and Tricks. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.